What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Deer Camp 86, and this is actually a perfect time to review this movie because this movie centers around, you know, a deer hunting trip, and it's set in Michigan. Deer hunting season just started in Michigan. The opening day for deer hunting season in Michigan was the 15th, and it's the 18th today. So this is a very topical video. It's the perfect time to watch something like this, to review something like this. So it just worked out. This just popped up on Tubi the other day. I was browsing the what do you call it? The first time on Tubi section, and this is a movie. I've had this in my Amazon Prime watch list for a while. I was just gonna buy it and review it, and I totally forgot about it. And then I went on Tubi, I saw that it was added. I was like, let's go. I was like ecstatic. I was so excited. So I I immediately checked it out, and I was so happy with this movie. It was fantastic. Like, I was a really big fan of this movie. So yeah, I thought it was great. Like, definitely would recommend. So, Deer Camp 86, this movie was on point. So, jumping into a plot summary, as the title suggests, this movie is set in 1986, and it focuses on a group of 6 friends from Detroit. And these friends are going up north. They're going to northern Michigan for a little deer hunting trip. And while they're on their way to the cabin, they stop at this bar. They get in a bar fight, and they meet this bartender named Star, and she's this Native American woman, and basically she gets killed early on in the movie. And throughout the rest of the movie, when the guys are at the cabin, there's all these weird supernatural happenings going on. After they realize Star is killed, all this crazy supernatural stuff starts happening, and there's this supernatural entity that's messing with them throughout the rest of the movie, and it's trying to kill them. So they're just trying to survive. And yeah, that is the basic plot summary. So first things first, the first point that I want to jump into is the fact that I might be biased with this review because I'm from Michigan, and more specifically, I live in the Metro Detroit area. So I live in a suburb of Detroit. Like, I live in like a pretty posh, bougie suburb, but like I literally live right next to Detroit. Like, if I drive 5 minutes, I'm in Detroit. And like I go to school downtown Detroit. So like I live in the Metro Detroit area. So the fact that these guys are Detroiters, that was super relatable for me. And then the fact that they're vacationing in northern Michigan is also extremely relatable for me, because since I was like a little kid, I like every summer, like sometimes I would go in the winter too, or the fall, but more specifically in the summer, I always go on a little family trip to northern Michigan. I went this past summer. I've pretty much gone every summer for my entire life. Like, even there's pictures and I'm like a little baby, and I'm on like a ATV with my dad, and he's like cradling me on an ATV. Like, I always have gone like up north. Like, that's like a staple of my years. Like, I go on a trip to northern Michigan. I go, fishing, ride some ATVs, go shooting, stuff like that. Do like little outdoorsy stuff in northern Michigan. So the fact that they're doing Northern Michigan trip, also super relatable. Both like the the fact that they're Detroiters and the fact that they were doing a trip in Northern Michigan, it was just so close to home for me, so relatable. I loved it. You don't like oftentimes you don't get a movie that's set like right in your neck of the woods, and I thought that was so cool, and it's a great setting for a movie. And then also something else that was relatable, and this is kind of extremely random, but they're up north and they're drinking beers and they're also like chewing a lot. They were throwing like chewing tobacco in, and that was really relatable for me because nowadays I don't really dabble with that, but when I was in high school, I used to chew like here and there, and basically the one character Carlos early on in the movie, he throws a horseshoe in like the one character Buck. He's like, "What are you throwing in a horseshoe?" And I used to use that terminology as well. I would call it a full horseshoe when instead of putting like a little pinch of dip in your lip, you like pack out your gums basically from like one side to the other side, and your whole bottom gum line is filled with dip. Like I used to do that all the time, and I used to use the same terminology. I would say like I'm throwing in a full horseshoe, because like if you just throw in like a pinch, like you get a little buzz going on, but if you've been dipping for a little bit, like a little pinch, like just a regular lip, is not gonna get you where you're trying to go. So you pack a full horseshoe, like you're about to be buzzing. So I like that too. That was relatable for me too, because I you don't really see people like dipping in movies a lot, and I've never I don't recall like hearing someone use the term horseshoe or full horseshoe in a movie, and I used to always say that like when I was dipping, I would like pack like a full horseshoe sometimes if I was really, like I said, trying to buzz like crazy. So I thought that was relatable for me as well, and that's kind of like a niche thing. Like you don't really see people dipping in movies a lot. So everyone's smoking in movies, but nobody's dipping. So I thought that was pretty cool. Moving on, another thing that I really liked about this movie was the overall look. Just this movie, it was absolutely beautiful. The cinematography was on point. There was a lot of instances where they kind of stylized it, where if you would have close-ups of the characters, you would like the characters would be in focus, but the background would be out of focus, and the background would like showcase all these bright fall leaves on these trees, like these oranges and reds, very bright, like these bright yellows, and that stuff was beautiful. Also, a lot of like the shots were interesting. Like you had some, I don't know, just like interesting like close-ups, interesting transitions. Some of the camera movements were pretty cool. Like there were some really cool like quick pans and tilts, like extremely quick. There was also some cool aerial shots. There were like drone shots, and then like I said, the fall atmosphere was beautiful. Who Whoever color graded this movie, I mean, shouts out to them, because like the way they color graded all the fall leaves, it just looked, I don't know, absolutely breathtaking, just completely beautiful. And yeah, the look of this movie was great, and all the special effects were good too, because this is a newer movie. It came out in 2022, and there was quite a bit of CGI, but it wasn't overdone. There was a good mix of practical and CGI, and honestly, I thought the CGI looked good in this. And it's not like they used CGI as a crutch. For some stuff where it would have probably taken way too long or would have been like way over budget, they used CGI, but they didn't just use it because they were being late. Like I got the vibe like they weren't using it just to be lazy and like kind of opt out of using practical effects. It's like they used practical effects when it when like it was called for, but then when they needed to use CGI, they used it. They didn't just, like I said, they didn't just lean on CGI for all the effects, but they used it when it was applicable, and I like that. Moving ahead, I thought that this movie had a lot of comedy in it as well, and you know, it was a great blend of comedy and horror. The suspense in this movie was very suspenseful. It was kind of a slower burn movie, but the comedy, you know, it served as like a good break where it's like, okay, I say this in a lot of reviews. It's like you take like a breath and then it's like back into the suspense and tension, and then if you were just if the whole movie was suspense and tension, you would almost get fatigued, so it's like you need a little break so that you can get scared again, so the comedy served as a good little breath, a good little break in tension, so that when the tension came back it was like in your face. So the comedy was on point. I really liked the banter between all the friends. It seemed like realistic. Like if you go on a family trip or like a guy's trip, like it just sounded like how guys would talk on a hunting trip. And it was funny because they were kind of hazing each other. They were like messing with each other. And there's this one guy, Buck. He was probably the funniest character in the movie. He was always hazing this kind of nerdy guy named Egbert, and it was just so fun. Like when he was just hazing him throughout the whole gosh darn movie, and that little banter between them was extremely funny. Another, like, just a couple of specific examples of comedy in this movie are, okay, one time Buck was waking up and he immediately throws in a lip of chew and he's like drinking a beer, and the one guy, he's like, the main guy, he says to Buck, he's like, dude, how can you chew and drink? Doesn't it get all mixed up? And then Buck's like, oh, well, it's all going to the same place. He's like, this is the breakfast of champions. So he was funny, and he was always, he was like, he would try to solve everything with a beer. Like, everyone would be like seriously frightened. They would be distressed, and he'd be like, just have a beer, dude. Come on. It's time for a beer. You know what'll help with that? Have a beer. Like, his solution to every problem was like, you're probably you're not drinking enough. You need a beer. Like, are you even buzzing right now? Come on, like, just have a drink. So that was really funny, and it was funny too because he would always be like trying to get people to drink at like 9 a.m. in the morning, and they'd be like, it's 9 a.m. I'm not trying to have a drink. He's like, we're behind schedule. We should have started drinking at 6 a.m. So yeah, Buck was extremely funny. I loved his character. And then there's this another standout funny sequence was Egbert gets a deer tick in his scrotum, and there's this whole sequence where they have to like cut out this deer tick from his scrotum, and there's this dude Carlos. He's like a veteran, and he's like the hardest dude in the group. He's like straight up an a-hole, and he's just like he's like badass, and he like is going in with a knife in Egbert's sack and like cutting out this deer tick, and there's some close-ups, and it's extremely funny. So yeah, that was another standout funny scene as well. And then the last point that I want to get into is something that I noticed about this movie personally is that it kind of had a Blair Witch Project vibe where like I said, it's a slower burn, and it had that supernatural element. They are in the woods, that's reminiscent of the Blair Witch Project. Oh, they're not like lost like the Blair Witch Project, but like I said, it's a slow burn, and this supernatural entity is just messing with them throughout the movie. It's not like it's like, balls to the wall action right off the bat and people are getting killed left and right. It's like the supernatural entity is just toying with them, like little freaky stuff starts happening. It like progressively gets crazier and crazier, and you do see the entity more and more as the movie goes on. So it's not completely obscured. Like in the first Blair Witch Project, you don't see anything really, but in this you do see this like ancient spirit or whatever, this supernatural entity later on, but for the most part it is very obscured throughout the whole movie. Like they'll just see like a glimpse of it on their camera or something. Like it's pretty obscured, and I thought that was reminiscent of the Blair Witch Project as well, where it's like the filmmakers don't have to show us everything. Like part of the reason why this movie is so creepy is because just the tension and the fear of the unknown, and it's kind of building up where we're like anticipating like what is this thing? I don't know. Like it's so hidden. Like what is it? Like what is it gonna do? Like when is stuff just gonna start going balls to the wall? It's kind of like edging up a roller coaster. It's like slowly creeping up, and something crazy is about to happen, and then like in the third act, it just gets crazy. So yeah, that was awesome. And then another thing that was like very reminiscent of the Blair Witch Project for me was when Egbert is killed. There's like this shrine of branches around him, and there's some like animal bones in this shrine, and that just reminded me of in the first Blair Witch Project where they find all these weird like configurations of branches and those little like branch stick figure type configurations. So once again, I really got Blair Witch Project vibes from this movie, which is a positive for me because I love the Blair Witch Project. I really like the second Blair Witch Project too. I know people hate that movie, but I absolutely love that movie. So yeah, I'm a big Blair Witch Project fan, and I got similar vibes from this. So that was the last point that I wanted to get into. In terms of a recommendation, I would 100% recommend this. It's it's deer hunting season right now. It's the fall. This movie's free on Tubi. It's only an hour and 25 minutes. The horror is on point. The story is on point. The comedy is on point. What more do you want me to say? So if you have not seen Deer Camp 86, definitely check it out. But yeah, that has been my review. Thank you very much for watching, and peace out.